To many people, unless they're of the teddy variety, bears are not at all cuddly and even less woodly. Bruno the Bear was an apparent exception to that rule because he was not only trained to give literal bear hugs by his owner, but seemingly greatly enjoyed doing so.
So Karl, who is Bruno?
Well, Bruno was a sloth bear who hailed from the Indian region of Mysore, which is now Mysore, I believe. I hope I'm pronouncing both those things correctly. Who was discovered by a hunter called Kenneth Anderson, who stumbled across Bruno after his mother had unfortunately been shot. And I'd like to reassure everybody listening at home right now that this is the only part of Bruno's story that is depressing as all shit. His Bambi moment happened very early in life, and the story goes that Anderson felt so sorry for the tiny little bear cub he saw without a mother that he chased it down and shoved it into a sack and then gave it to his wife, who was just delighted upon seeing the bear and immediately tied a bright red ribbon around his neck and made it her pet.
Like, this definitely sounds like a Disney film.
It does sound like a Disney film, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Like, man stumbles across dead bear, sees the baby bear, catches the baby bear, gives to wife puts bow around its neck. Bear is called Bruno the Bear, Disney, get on it. Actually don't, because you'll copyright this story and then I'll get fucking no money from this video.
So what sort of stuff did Bruno get up to?
Well, he basically spent the next few years just having free reign at the Anderson home with Kenneth Anderson's wife, just as mentioned, doting on the animal like it was a baby and treating it like it was her own. And Bruno, as he grew up, was taught a variety of tricks that varied in complexity, which we'll discuss in a moment, most of which he was rewarded for with his favourite food, anything. And that's not hyperbole, folks, because according to historical accounts, Bruno the Bear would eat anything he could get his grubby little bear paws on. As an example of the eclectic range of foods Bruno was fed, two of his favourite meals were curried pork and porridge with coffee and tuna in it.
Oh.
Which doesn't sound very appetising to me, but I'm not a bear. I'm not a bear, so I guess. And it's like when you look at like dogs and what they eat.
Yeah.
I've seen dogs eat their own shit. Don't look appetising to me, but it must be nice to a dog.
Yeah, it's weird to me because I know dogs pretty much eat everything.
Pretty much, yeah.
But my mum's dog will not eat anything. Like, he finds it really hard to eat his own food.
Look at that. What a fussy little dog.
Like, you couldn't poison him. Like, he wouldn't eat anything. He will eat cat food.
Oh, okay. Well, speaking of poison, that actually happened to Bruno because his penchant of eating anything that was found on the floor resulted in him getting into Kenneth's office, whereupon he ate an entire bag of rat poison. And before anyone starts worrying, Bruno was fine. He was found. They noticed the empty bag of rat poison. They called a vet. They got him treated. Everything was okay. And Bruno learned an important lesson: not to eat random shit he found on the floor. Is what I'd love to say, because he didn't. Because the next week they found him drinking an entire can of motor oil.
Oh my god.
And you're probably thinking, surely drinking an entire can of motor oil hurt Bruno in some way. Like, not only did the bear suffer no adverse reaction to drinking motor oil, but his fur coat was apparently glossier the few weeks after he did it.
What?
It made his fur better.
What the fuck? How?
So there was, presumably there was something in the oil, like castor oil and stuff like that you give to dogs for the coat. Apparently, who knew that motor oil was good for a glossy coat for your bear? It's like, don't feed it to your dog. If you've got a pet bear, it can't hurt.
Yeah, don't go feeding it to your dog.
Don't feed it to, don't feed them anything. Like dogs, there's not a lot of things that you're allowed to feed them, is there? But the thing I like about dogs is, every now and again you'll see dogs turn their nose up at something. And that's like the old joke, isn't it? Like, dogs will lick their own balls, but they won't eat your leftovers. How bad is your cooking?
Yeah.
And it's like, oh, that's a burn, that, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a big insult.
Like, if a dog will lick its own balls, but it won't eat your leftovers, maybe that's a sign that you shouldn't be eating whatever that is. Oh, like, Nisha, in that vein, it's like, what's the weirdest thing you've seen an animal eat? Like, a pet or, otherwise?
If I mention my mum's dog again.
Okay.
Like I said, he's really fussy. He won't eat his own dog food. But I have seen him chomp on cat shit. Like, you won't eat your own bloody food, but you eat cat shit. Yeah, it makes sense.
The thing is, it reminds me a little bit like a really early moment on the channel. I think it's when I was talking to Brad in a video about a friend of mine's dog who ate a bag of flour. And I remember Brad just losing his shit over that. Like, he couldn't imagine just that poor dog's insides the next day. It's like he must have been shitting a cannonball. Because basically, it all just turned to dough in this dog's stomach and it couldn't move.
Oh, God.
Because he just ate a bag of flour. And if I'm remembering correctly, the friend whose dog it was does have a picture of the dog's face after it ate the flower.
I bet he had some regrets the next day, though. Fucking hell.
That's the thing. And I'll ask that friend if his dog was all right, and I think it was. And it did just keep eating more bags of flour.
What?
The dog's doing it.
Okay, if we bring it back to Bruno the Bear.
Yes.
You mentioned earlier about him giving bear hugs.
Yes. So one of the many tricks that Anderson's wife taught Bruno to do was giving bear hugs on command. And like you can argue, well, that's just a trick the bear was taught to do, and he only enjoyed doing because he got treats afterwards. But here's the thing: according to historical accounts, when Anderson's wife was asleep, Bruno the Bear would sneak into their room and climb into bed with her to give her a hug.
Aww.
Yeah. And like obviously she loved this because she loved the bear and she would hug it in return. So Anderson would frequently find himself waking up in the night to find like a fucking 200-pound bear like hugging his wife. It's like, I guess this is my life now.
Oh, that's really cute though.
For the curious, other tricks that Bruno was taught to do included pretending that a stick was a gun, like holding his hands up and then falling over on the floor, and cradling a block of wood as if it was a baby, in addition to standing on his head and spinning around. So they even taught the bear to break dance.
What?
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, I wish I could see that.
But they're surprisingly agile creatures, are bears. So have you ever seen that clip of the bear that's got a stick and it's doing like kung fu with it?
No, but I need to see this.
Yeah, it's just Google it right now. Just Google bear stick kung fu. I think it was a bear just got a stick in a zoo and just started doing like fucking sick martial arts moves with it.
Kung Fu Bear, unedited,
Okay.
not fake.
You know that's clickbait. We'll have a look.
Adverts, of course.
Of course, yeah, it's YouTube. Do you have Kung Fu Bear, Nisha?
Yeah. What the hell? Just the camera pans towards it, it's just like...
Just giving it his... That bear, he's doing some katas, man. I won't mess with that bear.
This is amazing.
And another bear video I want to highlight is, I think it's one of the David Attenborough documentaries. Some of the B-roll footage they got from a forest was just a bear cleaning itself on a tree. Or like scratching its back on a tree, but the bear was fucking loving it. And it was there for like a good 5 minutes, just like absolutely just grinding on this tree. And unfortunately, I don't think we can put that clip in unless we put some stop music over the top because they use like licensed music on the clip.
Jungle Boogie.
There we go. So let's just put that clip in now with like just stock. You know what? Put it with the Fact Fiend theme. There we go.
I am loving this story, the bear, so far. It's awesome.
Yeah.
So what happened to Bruno? Did he live with them like for his entire life?
Not exactly, no, Nisha, because every good story needs that moment where things look pretty dire. And for Bruno, it's when Kenneth Anderson looked at Bruno and went, that's a fucking bear. That's too big. We can't keep this bear in our house. And he gave it to a local zoo. And his wife, understandably, was distraught upon learning that he'd basically given away her beloved pet to a zoo. And she was even more pissed off when she found out that Bruno wasn't eating. He was so depressed in the zoo, he was refusing to eat. And keep in mind, the bear drank motor oil, you know that bear was depressed.
Oh no.
And she went to visit it in the zoo and was so distraught at seeing the state he was in, she like basically went home and sulked about it. And Kenneth Anderson, upon seeing this, realised, oh shit, maybe that wasn't a good idea. And he built a cage for Bruno in his house. And I'd like to imagine that the fact that he basically assassinated his own sex life by doing that played a small part in his decision to bring Bruno back. Because I can't imagine that Kenneth Anderson was going to get much loving from Mrs. Anderson after doing that.
No, definitely not. Probably never ever again.
Yeah, like he gave away her pet. Her beloved pet that she basically doted on from a baby. And thankfully, Bruno's story does have a happy ending because after the cage was built, he was brought back home from the zoo and he continued to live out the rest of his days with his owners, and including Mrs. Anderson, who just continued to dote on him until the day he died. The world we live in right now is a little bit dark, a little bit depressing sometimes, so the image I'd like to leave people on today, at the end of this video, is just a story told about Bruno's final days, which involved him being visited every single day by Mrs. Anderson, with the gift of tea and cakes, which she would sit with him and eat, meaning that every single day, Mrs. Anderson had a teddy bear picnic with Bruno.
Oh my
A
god.
literal teddy bear picnic every day.
That's brilliant.
And that's a good story about a bear called Bruno. Bruno the Bear. Trademark Fat Fiend. Don't steal my idea, Disney.